in the law?
Okay. So, there are quite a wide number of regulations and standards that every business has to adhere to, and common, particularly if you employ people. So you have to have a very clearly defined health and safety policy, and very clearly defined contracts of employment, which are based upon standard contracts or standard policies, which have to include a certain number of items that are distributed and communicated by relevant government departments. And they are inspected infrequently, but it could be as often as once a year by inspectors from the Employment Authority and by the Health and Safety Authority, and also independently of that by our own insurers, for example, who would carry out a survey every year to make sure that we are following the various regulations and the policies that we put in place in terms of risk assessment, in terms of making sure that the building is maintained to an adequate standard, that it's safe, that there aren't any hazards. And following on from that, there's also things like food hygiene regulations that our staff have to have training in and have to be certified and have to have it renewed every so often. And again, there are health inspectors that come into the building fairly frequently to ensure that standards are kept and in place, that good practices are being followed. They also inspect the building to make sure that people don't smoke inside.
Yeah.
And they also, again, looking for maintenance defects to make sure that you don't have any pests like rodents or whatever being able to get into the building as well. So that's part of their role. So in some ways you might see them as being an impediment, that these are things that you have to do, but actually, they're probably more something that you can work together with, to keep your standards high, to keep, improving all the time, and it's a good safety net there, because they don't come in and they say, oh, this is terrible, you're doing that wrong, close the place down.
Yeah.
They say, well, look, maybe this is something you need to look at a little differently, and if you do this and you do this and you do this, and they work together with you to make sure that you achieve the standard. Now, if you ignore what they say, don't bother carrying out the work, then you're faced with possible fines and closure or so on. So those are three examples. Because this is a licensed premises, a bar where we sell alcohol, there are fairly strict and onerous regulations, regarding the sale of alcohol, both in terms of the quality of the product that you sell, that it's a date and that it's fresh and that you buy it from proper suppliers, because within everything, alcohol is a very lucrative way of the government collecting taxes.
Yeah.
Because more than half, maybe 60% of every drink you buy, whether it be beer or wine or soft drink, whatever, is taxed to the government. The cost of it goes. And both in terms of excise duty and value-added tax. So value-added tax is like sales tax. So it's a percentage of it, but there's a duty on every alcoholic beverage as well. So they're obviously incentivized to make sure that the system works, and that they're able to collect their revenue, and to see also from the point of view of protection of young people. You've mentioned already about the age of being able to drink or being 18. So that's something that they inspect as well. And I'd like to think that for the most part it's not a difficult thing to adhere to, but there are a lot of training that we carry out with our staff, and that the government also provides facilities to train people in, to make sure that they are able to deal with situations where people come in who may be underage, or who may be troublemakers, or maybe people who are already under the influence of alcohol that you don't want to serve.